We've all had that moment watching an old action flick, maybe on VHS, maybe on late-night cable, and suddenly, a scene flashes across the screen that doesn't make sense. A brutal dream sequence, a cryptic line of dialogue, a character who appears out of nowhere and is never seen again. You rewind, trying to process it, but it's there. Or was. Because years later, on DVD or Blu-ray, it's gone. In the chaotic world of 1,980 seconds and 90 seconds action films, production wasn't always clean. Budgets were tight, directors battled studios, and last-minute edits became routine. But what if some scenes weren't mistakes? What if they were messages, hints of subplots that were buried, or footage that slipped through the cracks before someone realized it shouldn't have? And then it gets stranger. Some of these scenes appear in one version, only a foreign release, a test screening, a bootleg VHS taped off late-night television. Others are confirmed only by witnesses who swear they saw it once, but no copy seems to exist now. Studios deny it, directors go quiet, and fans are left with a question no one wants to answer. Why did that scene exist in the first place? This isn't about continuity errors or bloopers. This is about footage that never belonged but somehow made it in. Scenes that suggest alternate storylines, alternate fates, or darker truths the filmmakers never intended to share. Or maybe they did and someone else cut them out. Let's dive into 15 action movies with moments that shouldn't exist. Scenes so strange, so unaccounted for, they continue to haunt collectors, fans, and film historians to this day. Fact 1. Dangerously Close, 1986, the nightmare that only exists on VHS. Imagine watching a teen thriller and suddenly finding yourself trapped in a fever dream of blood and surrealism. That's what some viewers reported from Dangerously Close, but only if they saw it on VHS. Directed by Albert Pyun and released in 1986, Dangerously Close was a slick, low-budget action film wrapped in high school politics and vigilante justice. But in the original VHS release, buried deep in the third act, is a scene that never made it to later versions. A violent, hallucinatory dream sequence featuring the protagonist walking through a nightmarish version of the school, drenched in red light, where he's stalked and stabbed by masked figures. The scene is jarringly different in tone shot, with strange angles, erratic editing, and a synth track not found anywhere else in the film. It's never referenced again, doesn't match the film's visual style, and disrupts the plot's pacing entirely. When the DVD and later Blu-ray releases were restored, this sequence was missing. The studio offered no comment. Albert Pyun himself denied including such a scene, despite multiple VHS copies proving otherwise. Even odder, the film's script and shooting schedule make no mention of this sequence ever being filmed. Was it a rogue edit? A late-night hallucination baked into a print for unknown reasons? Or an experimental scene that slipped into only a few pressings before being yanked? And Dangerously Close isn't the only film where a scene slipped in, then quietly disappeared. Fact 2. Bulletproof, 1988. The Vanishing Soldier. In Bulletproof, Gary Busey plays a no-nonsense anti-terrorist operative in a film stuffed with explosions, one-liners, and absurd hardware. But for those who caught a particular TV broadcast in the early 90 seconds, one moment didn't sit right, a scene that never showed up again. Roughly 27 minutes into the televised version, a secondary character named Sanders appears alongside the main squad. He delivers a single line about the backup route, and walks into frame only to vanish for the rest of the film. He's not in any action sequences, not among the injured, not even listed in the end credits. What's worse, that line doesn't exist in any DVD or Blu-ray edition. Online sleuths have searched for a Sanders subplot or deleted scene that might explain it. But the studio has never acknowledged his existence, and no production stills, scripts, or cast notes mention him. Some believe he was part of a side arc that got erased at the last minute. Others claim he was a stand-in who accidentally made it into a final TV cut. But if that's the case, why was the scene shot so deliberately, and why is it missing from every other version? One moment, he's there. The next, he's film history's ghost. And as strange as that is, Another scene lingers for all the wrong reasons because it was never supposed to be there to begin with. Fact 3. Stick, 1985. The golf course that led nowhere. Directed by and starring Burt Reynolds, Stick is a revenge-driven thriller based on an Elmore Leonard novel. It's fast, brash, and unapologetically macho except for one oddly tranquil moment that derails the film's entire tone. In an early VHS release, there's a 5-minute scene of Reynolds' character meeting a contact at a lavish golf course. The two walk slowly through the fairway, discussing something cryptic, possibly a double cross, possibly nothing at all. But the conversation is vague, unfocused, and ultimately unrelated to anything that follows. The pacing grinds to a halt. The camera lingers. The dialogue feels improvised. And then it ends. No payoff, no connection to later events. What's baffling is that this scene isn't in the theatrical release, nor any restored digital editions. It's also absent from the shooting script. The only known reference to it comes from fan-recorded airings on local TV in Florida and a handful of early VHS pressings distributed regionally. Some speculate it was a product placement scene gone wrong. Others think it was part of a deleted subplot involving corruption at a country club. But no cast or crew have confirmed filming it, and Reynolds, when asked, claimed to barely remember shooting anything like that. A scene with no purpose, no context, no resolution. And yet, it exists at least, to those who remember it. But up next, we look at a film where the scene's tone was so wrong, it broke the illusion of action entirely. Fact 4. Avenging Angel, 1985. The scene that played to the wrong song. Music can make or break a scene, but what happens when it's the wrong music entirely? In Avenging Angel, a gritty sequel to the cult hit Angel, there's a high-stakes foot chase through alleyways and rooftops, a classic action beat. But some early cable broadcasts included a version of the scene scored with what sounded like upbeat funk music, completely clashing with the visuals. Instead of tension, the chase felt like a montage from a dance comedy. The music hit all the wrong emotional cues, often missing cuts or landing awkwardly on action beats. Most viewers assumed it was a broadcast error until someone found an old screener VHS that had the exact same mix. What's more, unsettling. The official soundtrack never included that track, and neither director Robert Vincent O'Neill nor the composer acknowledged it. In fact, later releases on DVD and streaming platforms replaced the track with a more appropriate synth-based score that fit the tone. No explanation was given. Was it a temp track accidentally left in? A distributor mix-up? Or something weirder like an attempt to repackage the film for a lighter market demographic? No one knows. But the funky misfire became an urban legend among tape traders, a reminder that sometimes what you hear is more disorienting than what you see. But what if what you see doesn't make sense at all, even within the film's own logic? Fact 5. Deadly Force, 1983. The execution scene that never existed, officially. Deadly Force is a violent, no-frills crime action film starring Wings Hauser as a rogue ex-cop dispensing vigilante justice. The film is brutal, but in some versions, it's horrifying. Certain VHS pressings, particularly a Canadian release, contain an execution scene midway through the film, where Hauser's character tortures and kills a suspect in a warehouse. The lighting is different. The film grain changes noticeably, and the camera work is shakier than anything else in the movie. The scene stands out not just because of its intensity, but because it's not in any other known version. It wasn't in the theatrical cut. It's not in the DVD. No TV airing has ever included it. Even the film's editor claimed to have never seen it before fans brought it up in the 2000s. Further investigation revealed that the footage doesn't appear in any shooting script. The actor playing the victim isn't listed in the credits, and the scene's setting doesn't match any other location in the film. Theories range from, it was part of a scrapped subplot, to it was pulled from a different film and spliced in by mistake. But there's no definitive answer. The scene is too elaborate to be a fluke, yet too disconnected to be intentional. And if Deadly Force blurred the line between inclusion and accident, our next film blurs it between dream and waking nightmare. Fact 6. Rolling Thunder, 1977, the dream that broke the film. Rolling Thunder is often praised as a grim, emotionally charged revenge story. But early home video releases, particularly in Europe, included a single jarring scene that feels pulled from another movie entirely. Roughly halfway through, in some PAL versions of the film, the protagonist, played by William Devane, is shown in a stark dream sequence. He's standing in a room full of coffins, each one bearing the name of someone still alive. He opens one and finds himself inside it. There's no lead-up, no dialogue, no resolution. The dream cuts abruptly back to a quiet morning scene as if nothing happened. The tone, lighting, and even aspect ratio of the footage feel off, as if inserted from a different camera system or production entirely. John Flynn, the director, was asked about the scene at a retrospective screening and responded simply, "That was never in my cut." Film scholars confirmed its absence in the U.S. theatrical and TV versions. Yet the sequence has been preserved by collectors with access to rare Betamax and early PAL transfers. So where did it come from? Some speculate it was a deleted ending from an earlier version. Others believe it was an international distributor's addition to add psychological depth. But no official source claims responsibility. It remains one of the most inexplicable insertions in action cinema, and no one's ever taken credit. But next we head to a film where the scene may have been added not to confuse, but to hint at something much darker. Fact 7. The Octagon, 1980. The whispered twist that was never meant to be heard. Chuck Norris's The Octagon is remembered for its stylized ninja fights and the strange use of whispered internal monologue. But among collectors, there's one particular whisper that wasn't in the script nor in most versions of the film. In a 1982 Spanish subtitled VHS release, during a meditation scene, Norris's character is heard whispering, "He was my brother, and I killed him." It's barely audible, buried under ambient music, and never followed up. No scene before or after references a sibling or a fratricidal plotline. In other versions, US, theatrical, DVD, Blu-ray, the line is completely absent. The rest of the whisper monologue remains identical. Just that one line is gone. What's worse, even the subtitles don't reflect the sentence. It's like it was meant to be hidden only for the audio engineers of one version to forget to mute it. No known version of the screenplay includes the line. And when asked in a 2005 interview, director Eric Carson laughed and said, "That line doesn't exist. If it does, someone added it without asking me." Yet multiple rips of the Spanish VHS confirm its presence. Was it a temp line, a scrapped storyline, or something whispered into the reel by accident? One line. No context. No explanation. And as haunting as whispers can be, the next scene is unsettling, not for what's said, but for what's seen, and then denied. Fact 8. Eye of the Tiger, 1986. The crash that everyone pretends didn't happen. Eye of the Tiger, starring Gary Busey, is your typical 80 seconds vengeance tale, small-town man against a corrupt system. But one scene from an early syndicated TV airing has sparked debate for decades. A violent truck crash that seemingly never existed. In the questionable version, Busey's character is shown narrowly escaping an ambush, only to witness a semi-truck slam through a barricade and flip into a ditch complete with a fiery explosion. The effects are clumsy but dramatic. Yet, no other release of the film contains this moment. Even stranger, in later scenes, characters reference the crash, saying things like, "After what happened on Route 12, we can't take chances." But without the crash itself, those lines feel disjointed. So which came first, the footage or the dialogue? Production notes make no mention of a truck stunt. The film's editor denied such a sequence ever being cut. And in the official shooting script, that entire scene is absent. So how did it make it to air? Some believe the scene was lifted from another New World Pictures production and spliced into a syndicated cut to pad runtime or boost intensity. Others insist it was part of a work print that mistakenly went to a regional distributor. Today, only a handful of off-air VHS recordings contain the crash. It's not on DVD, not on Blu-ray, and not acknowledged by anyone involved. But if that crash was a copy-paste job, The next scene seems to come from a film no one remembers making at all. Fact 9. Black Moon Rising, 1986. The organization that doesn't exist. Black Moon Rising is already a strange hybrid part action, part techno-thriller, written by none other than John Carpenter. But in a rare Laserdisc version released in Japan, there's a quiet dialogue exchange that introduces an entirely different layer to the plot, then vanishes forever. In a corridor conversation between two minor characters, one mutters, "They're from Section 13. We shouldn't even be seeing them." The line implies a shadowy government faction far beyond anything the film explores. There's no follow-up, no explanation. The characters involved aren't important. But the reference suggests Black Moon Rising was once part of a larger, perhaps serialized story. In every other version, the scene plays identically except that line is gone. No insert shot, no audio blip. Cleanly removed. There are no script drafts available that mention Section 13. The director, Harley Kokolis, dismissed the idea outright in interviews, saying this was never designed as part of a bigger world. Yet fans theorize that Carpenter's original treatment may have included government paranoia themes, later stripped out during rewrites or editing. Some even claim the project was once connected to Escape from New York, an early concept in which the Black Moon car was part of the same universe. But nothing has ever been confirmed. The scene exists only in one version on a disc long out of print, referencing an organization that doesn't exist in any other canon. And next, we examine a film that doesn't hint at a hidden world, it tries to erase one. Fact 10. Extreme Prejudice, 1987. The memory erasure that was never addressed. In Extreme Prejudice, Walter Hill delivers a hard-edged tale of drug wars, betrayal, and covert government squads. But one scene from a test screening version adds an entirely different and far more disturbing element. A VHS workprint copy, leaked in the early 2000s, includes a brief but crucial moment. A Black Ops soldier, interrogated by Nick Nolte's character, suddenly convulses and mutters, "They wiped us. We don't even know what missions we've done." The line is delivered in a dazed, mechanical tone, suggesting memory erasure or psychological conditioning, concepts never explored in the final film. Immediately after, the scene cuts to a wide shot of the desert and resumes as normal. In every commercial version, this line is gone. The actor's face isn't even shown, just a reaction shot from Nolte. The pacing jumps slightly, as if a cut was made. Hill has never commented on the sequence. The screenplay makes no mention of it. Yet the leaked tape, confirmed by multiple collectors, clearly includes the moment. Theories abound. Was Extreme Prejudice once a sci-fi thriller before being retooled as a straight action film? Or was this one line a leftover from an earlier draft, accidentally left in? Either way, it suggests a hidden war not just of bullets but of memories. But if that moment hinted at suppressed truth, the next scene is so out of sync, it calls into question whether it was ever meant to be there at all. Fact 11. Code of Silence, 1985. The rooftop that no one will admit to shooting. Chuck Norris is known for stunt-heavy, tightly controlled action films. So when a rooftop chase sequence from Code of Silence appeared in a foreign television broadcast with camera angles and editing that didn't match, the rest of the film fans were baffled. The scene shows Norris's character in pursuit of a suspect across several Chicago rooftops. It's shot in broad daylight, unlike the rest of the film's gritty, nighttime aesthetic. The sequence lasts nearly 4 minutes, includes several dangerous jumps, and ends with a tense standoff near a water tower before abruptly cutting to a daytime crowd shot. None of it is in the theatrical cut, nor on any home release. There's no mention in the shooting schedule, and no stunt team has claimed credit for the sequence. Even stranger, some of the buildings shown in the scene no longer existed by the time principal photography began, based on city permit records. Was it stock footage? A repurposed stunt reel? Or a second unit sequence shot months earlier and later abandoned? Norris, asked at a fan convention, laughed and said, "I've run across a lot of rooftops, but I don't remember that one." To this day, only a few taped from TV versions from Eastern Europe include the scene. It's high-octane, it's well-produced, and it doesn't belong anywhere. But not all scenes are about action. Some are about death and what comes after. Fact 12. Silent Rage, 1982. The body that shouldn't be there. In Silent Rage, Chuck Norris plays a sheriff facing off against a genetically reanimated killer, a bizarre blend of action and horror. The film toys with resurrection, but one deleted or perhaps accidental scene goes beyond unsettling. In a rare bootleg version shown at a horror convention in 1997, a scene appears where Norris discovers a body in a morgue drawer that's already moving, fingers twitching slightly, chest rising in shallow breaths. He stares, closes the drawer, and walks away without a word. This scene does not exist in any official cut, yet the film references that body later, stating it had been dead for hours. The implication, in the bootleg version, is that it wasn't. What's striking is the silence, no score, no dialogue, just ambient sound and the hum of fluorescent lights. It plays like a moment of surreal horror, out of place in a film already straddling tonal lines. When asked, director Michael Miller denied any such scene, but crew members at the convention allegedly confirmed it had been shot as an alternate version before being removed due to ratings concerns. There's no known script page for it, no stills, no production notes, but the footage exists, passed among horror collectors like a whispered secret. And if a body moves when it shouldn't, our next scene explores what happens when a character dies and still finds a way to speak. Fact 13. The Exterminator, 1980. The revenge scene that might not be real. The Exterminator is infamous for its low-budget brutality and street-level vengeance, but one sequence has haunted late-night viewers for decades, and no one's quite sure it was ever meant to be in the film. In some rare early screenings and pre-cert UK VHS copies, there's an added scene where the Exterminator brutally executes a gang member inside a meat locker. The scene is grim, silent, and oddly stylized, completely unlike the gritty, shaky realism of the rest of the movie. Stranger still, the man being killed doesn't match any character established in the film. He begs for mercy using a different name. His outfit is more modern than the rest of the cast, and the background set has never been confirmed as part of the film's shooting locations. Some believe the sequence was stock footage from an unreleased exploitation film accidentally added to a reel. Others argue it was a planned alternate kill scene, pulled from final versions due to censorship. But here's the twist. There's no record anywhere of it being shot. The actor has never been identified. No script versions include the scene. Even the film's director, James Glickenhaus, has publicly denied it. That's not mine. And yet it's there, documented by tape traders, captured in stills, preserved in badly degraded VHS copies. It's a revenge moment with no origin, no logic, and no justification except that someone, somewhere, thought it belonged. But at least this scene involved an actual confrontation. Our next one features two men and no contact. Fact 14. Best of the Best 2, 1993. The Blood That Was Never Spilled. In Best of the Best 2, the martial arts tournament is brutal, high stakes, and gory except when it isn't. A deleted moment from a 1994 pay-per-view version features a short fight in the underground arena between two unnamed fighters. The fight is fast, frantic, and ends with a brutal knockout and a clear trail of blood smeared across the mat. But here's the twist. In all other versions, the blood isn't there. The fighters are different. The audience cutaways are reused from other matches. And the camera angles don't match anything else in the film. For a long time, fans believed it was a teaser from a spin-off. Others assumed it was a choreographed demo reel accidentally left in a distributor cut. But the timing of the scene just before the final match suggests it was meant to raise the stakes, showing the arena's brutality before the hero entered. To this day, no one knows who the fighters were. They don't appear in credits. No casting calls exist for them. And the scene isn't in any script draft, including the shooting script archived by screenwriter Max Strom. The footage was never officially acknowledged. And it hasn't been restored or mentioned in any home media extras. A fight, a winner, blood on the floor, but no name, no narrative, no trace. And then, there's a film where the scene in question didn't just seem out of place, it seemed to predict something the filmmakers couldn't have known. Fact 15. McBain, 1991. The Building That Fell Too Soon. Christopher Walken stars in McBain, a wild vigilante action film about overthrowing a corrupt South American regime. It's loud, chaotic, and full of explosions, but one early TV edit included a scene that has baffled viewers for decades. In a pre-release television screener, sent to regional broadcasters, there's a scene showing a massive building collapse during a rebel attack. The scene is brief, only 10 seconds long, but the tower shown bears a striking resemblance to the real-life U.S. federal building in Oklahoma City. What's even more unsettling? This broadcast occurred years before the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. The shot is cleanly executed with miniature effects. The collapse is eerily accurate. But the scene was cut from all theatrical versions and never appeared again. When the film was finally released on VHS and DVD, the explosion was gone. Some say it was removed due to concerns over realism. Others believe it was a test FX shot never meant for public eyes. But the eeriness of its timing and the decision to remove it entirely has sparked speculation about whether the scene was too close to a reality that hadn't happened yet. No production documents reference the building. No miniature footage appears in the DVD extras. And Walken, in interviews, has never mentioned filming it. It's a moment that seems almost prophetic, one that now feels too real to have ever been fiction. Bonus fact: The Punisher, 1989. The alternate childhood that only exists overseas. This one didn't make the top 15, but it might just be the strangest of all. In The Punisher, 1989, Dolph Lundgren plays Frank Castle, a man shattered by the murder of his family, turned relentless vigilante. But in certain international versions of the film, especially the rare German and Dutch PAL VHS releases, there's an added flashback that rewrites everything we know about his past. The scene shows a young Frank Castle, around 10 years old, standing in a war-torn village, watching a firing squad execute prisoners. The footage is grainy, filmed with a sepia filter, and contains no dialogue. It's overlaid with a child's voice whispering, "You learn to survive by forgetting." Nothing in the main plot references this moment. It contradicts the film's stated backstory where Castle was a cop with a family killed by the mob, and instead implies a trauma rooted in military violence or wartime displacement. When fans questioned the inclusion, New World Pictures offered no explanation. Director Mark Goldblatt has repeatedly denied shooting the flashback. Even the film's screenwriter called it completely unfamiliar. Some believe it was borrowed from a European short film or repurposed from unrelated footage to fill runtime. Others think it was a conceptual experiment to deepen Castle's psychology for a specific market, then pulled when it created more questions than answers. But in a story already about ghosts, this flashback feels like one of its own, an echo from a life Frank Castle never lived, yet one someone wanted us to see, just once. So, what makes a scene real in cinema? Is it its presence in the official cut? Its appearance in one forgotten broadcast? Or the memory of a viewer who swears they saw it, once, in the middle of the night? Which of these scenes do you think was a mistake? An accident of editing, forgotten footage that slipped through, and which ones feel like something someone didn't want you to see? Tell us in the comments. Have you ever seen a scene in a movie that no one else remembers?